there are a lot of stereotypes, positive and negative, about millennials out there. And in the research that I have done on this topic over the last year, I have found that some of them are based in fact, and some of them aren't. So let's start with some on the positive side. And one of the things that we hear a lot about millennials is the fact that they're very collaboration-minded, they enjoy social, they're very good at knowledge sharing, which is something that we don't always find in older generations. So Sherman, I'd like to start with you. What are your thoughts on this view of millennials as open, collaborative, willing to share information? Is that something that you see play out in your job? And do you see any differences in generations?
So what I would say is I absolutely see that, and I see it myself as a millennial, as well as others that have been on my teams. One of the ways that it's played out at Rockwell is we've moved to this environment we call pods. And what we've done is we've gotten like-minded individuals together to solve a problem that may not be directly related to their area of work. Now, the neat thing about that is it gives the individual the opportunity to grow in their career, but also to collaborate, right, and work on something new and different. Now, what I've seen is that it's really driven retention. It's driven, I'd say, overall satisfaction. But the other thing is it's fostered this environment of collaborate, which we see a lot of the new individuals entering the workforce really gravitate towards.
Who else has a thought on that?
I can add to that. I think, I echo everything that Sherman said, and what you started off with, we're just a collaborative generation. And I think as a result of that is the technology that's happened over the last 10 or 15 years, where it's really challenged us to think quicker, be more efficient, optimize in certain ways, and where there might be some differences that at least I've seen versus Gen Xers, millennials, baby boomers, is when we bring up, hey, let's discuss or let's talk about how we decided to market this role or to bring in a new app to whatever market that we're trying to sell into. When we're bringing up feedback, it's more of how can we optimize? How can we really drive? How can we be creative? Or in some cases, it could be viewed as, okay, now they just want feedback. They either want a pat on their shoulder to bring something up around that topic. But I think it's more around how can we be better? How can we do better? So I think that adds to collaboration.
So at our workplace at Schneider, yes, there's definitely, millennials grew up with technology, using social media and all these different tools comes naturally. So I think what's important is for companies to come up with tools and an environment where, it fosters collaboration. A few examples that I can give from Schneider is that something that's really great and innovative is what we are building in terms of workspace of the future, where we have these hubs that we have in Boston and Nashville, and I've been to our Nashville hub. It's definitely, it fosters collaboration. There's no more these, the way it's an open space environment. There's no more these high cubes and, the corner offices. Everybody sits together, whether it's a VP or a individual contributor, or doesn't matter what level. They're all sitting together. Sometimes teams are sitting, all in one area, and it forces them to kind of interact with each other, and also all the different tools that we have, whether it's Skype or all the different Microsoft Teams tools that we have in place, where you don't necessarily have to schedule a meeting. It is not very formal. It makes it more informal. And also, I think it depends on how you're communicating to your teams about why we are doing this change, Going from having these really office environment to an open space environment, we made sure that we are communicating, we are letting people know why we are doing this. And I see there are offices for people who want to have a personal meeting, but I see everybody sitting in this open space environment. Even though there are offices, not many offices are occupied anymore. So it also depends on how we are communicating it and making sure everyone understands why it is useful.
Deepa, you mentioned something. You talked about the executives sitting with the others. our CEO came and did a quarterly ops presentation, and afterwards, several people like myself, millennials, went up to him. I did not personally, but and said, Blake, let's do a selfie. Let's do a selfie. And I saw he thought for a second, and he said, okay, let's do it. And he rolled with it, right? But I say a lot to say that there's kind of an expectation that these hierarchical walls that have been set that don't interact with VPs, with the senior executives, that's not something that I'd say millennials hold as true, at least not from what I've seen.
That was something we found in the research that we did, that access to executives from the very first day was something that we've seen companies introduce.
Right. I think like for kind of the move of the work culture to this more collaborative and kind of those open office schemes just philosophically has evolved from kind of our use of social media. You can think about how we've basically embraced the technology and we broadcast kind of ourselves out there, right? So slightly narcissistic, right? But in that kind of theme and that nature, it's kind of driven by being able to share with each other, and we're building these networks, and that's kind of philosophically where I think the millennial generation has kind of moved, and you're kind of seeing that permeate in these, new office structures and this new culture within the work environment.